Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsNight, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. As Putin rejects Vatican peace talks proposal, Trump says that Putin is playing with fire while Russia makes gains in Ukraine. US halts student visa appointments and plans expanded social media vetting. The move as part of Trump's wide-ranging efforts to fulfill his hardline immigration agenda. India's global outreach on Operation Sindoor continues. All party delegations engage with key figures in multiple nations, highlighting India's continued fight against terrorism. India is set for above normal rainfall with estimate of 106% downpours. Forecast brings boost for agriculture and rural livelihood. Well, on to the details now. New Delhi's message of zero tolerance against terrorism is echoing worldwide, with India's multi-party delegations holding back-to-back interactions with the world leaders, parliamentarians, think tanks, media and civil society in different countries to further unmask Pakistan's cross-border terrorism. An all-party delegation led by DMK MP Kanimozi Karunanidhi reached Greece on Tuesday evening. The delegation was received by the Indian ambassador to Greece, Rudrendra Tandon, at the airport. The delegation will be in Greece for the next 1.5 days, where they will be interacting with government officials, media personalities and parliamentarians of Greece, highlighting Pakistan's terrorism and India's Operation Sindoor. Another multi-party delegation led by MP Shrikant Shinde-led delegation is in Congo to brief Congolese officials on India's response to the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack and its broader fight against cross-border terrorism while engaging with the leaders. The delegation had a meeting with the President of Foreign Affairs Commission, Congo, Berthold Ulungu Ekonda Lukata on Tuesday. Following the meeting, Shrikant Shinde in a joint conference expressed gratitude to Congo's President of Foreign Affairs Commission for standing firmly with India in its fight against terrorism. Another multi-party delegation led by MP Vijayant Jay Panda arrived in Saudi Arabia on the third leg of their four-nation visit on Tuesday. The delegation was received by Major General Abdul Rahman Al-Harbi, chairman of Saudi-India Friendship Committee in Riyadh. Saudi Arabia has been an important partner of India for years at various fronts, and now it stands with India to combat terrorism. And an all-party Indian parliamentary delegation led by member Indian Parliament Supriya Sule commenced the South Africa engagement on Tuesday in Johannesburg with a community interaction to reiterate India's message against terrorism. Indian delegation conveyed India's zero-tolerance policy towards cross-border terrorism. DD India correspondent Nazneen Ismail reports for more.
The Indian all-party delegation led by Supriya Sule arrived safely in South Africa on the 27th of May and will be in the country up until the 29th of May, attending a series of meetings. As part of the visit, the delegation will travel to Cape Town and engage with key stakeholders. Upon arrival, the delegation attended a short briefing with the High Commissioner of India.
South Africa and India have been partners for many years. South Africa and India are strategic partners since 1990. First Indians to come in South Africa was in 1860 as indentured labor. So there's a long history with South Africa. We are working together in multilateral programs and also bilaterally. Prime Minister was here in 2023 for the BRICS meeting. He will be coming for G20 meeting, which is taking place in November. So, and he has come twice before as well.
Thereafter attended a community interaction in Johannesburg, where the Indian diaspora turned up in large numbers and warmly welcomed the delegation.
Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Jai!
But I appeal to every Indian citizen here that you must tell the truth to the world, and we all in one voice must condemn any terrorism anywhere in the world. And we have come with a message of peace, love, harmony. But at the same time, we must not forget that India is not going to tolerate any violence against any Indians anymore. And that's the message that we have come. Our first effort will always be peace. I'm so happy that South Africa, the government has stood by India, and they have joined hands with us for zero tolerance against any terrorism.
The message from this visit is clear. India is against terrorism in all its forms and will remain resolute in its stand against it. For DD India, Johannesburg, South Africa, I'm Nazneen, bringing you the pulse on global progress.
Well, an all-party delegation led by India's Member of Parliament Shashi Tharoor visited Panama's National Assembly to share India's views on fighting terrorism. In his address to the Assembly, Dr. Shashi Tharoor once again reiterated India's firm stance against terrorism and recalled key operations like the Uri and the Balakot strikes, which marked a shift in India's response strategy.
But what has changed in recent years is that the terrorists have also realized they will have uprisings. On that, let there be no doubt. When, for the first time, India breached the line of control between India and Pakistan to conduct a surgical strike on a terror base, a launch pad, the Uri strike in September 2015, that was already something we had not done before. Even during the Kargil War, we had not crossed the line of control. In Uri, we did. Then came the attack in Pulwama in January 2019. This time we crossed not only the line of control, we crossed the international border and we struck a terrorist headquarters in Balakot. This time we have gone beyond both of those. We have not only gone beyond the line of control and the international border, we have struck at the Punjabi upland of Pakistan by hitting terror bases, training centers, terror headquarters in 9 places.
Well, the delegation is currently engaged with the local leaders, journalists and members of the Indian community to strengthen ties between India and Panama and reaffirm India's firm stance against cross-border terrorism. And India's all-party delegation will reach Indonesia on Wednesday to project New Delhi's national consensus and resolute approach to combating terrorism in all forms and manifestations. The cohort will be in Indonesia until Saturday. Chandni Vasandani reports from Jakarta.
We are here ahead of the visit of the all-party delegation that will arrive in Jakarta on Wednesday morning. This 4-day visit is a vital component of India's multinational mission to strengthen the global narrative against cross-border terrorism. This delegation is led by Mr. Sanjay Kumar Jha, and they will come here to brief Indonesian counterparts on India's response to the Pahalgam terror attack back on April 22nd. The delegation will meet with several members of the Indonesian parliament, and we can expect that the discussions will underline the threat of terrorism and the importance of international cooperation against terrorism. They're also expected to visit the ASEAN Secretariat to meet with the ASEAN Secretary General. During this visit, they will also be meeting with several representatives of Indonesian political parties and influential think tanks. This is a good opportunity for the Indian delegation to, voice their concerns about terrorism, which is a clear and present threat that exists until today, and rally support for Operation Sindoor as a response to terrorism. Beyond these high-level discussions and dialogues, they will also meet with the Nahdlatul Ulama, which is the world's largest Islamic organization that is based in Indonesia. They also have, in their agenda, they also have scheduled to have several community and cultural engagements where they will interact and meet with media houses and members of the Indian diaspora based in Indonesia. This visit to Jakarta represents a very serious diplomatic effort to forge stronger partnerships and amplify the call for decisive action against those who commit and support acts of terror. After this Jakarta leg, the delegation will travel to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I am Chandni Vasandani reporting from Jakarta.
Well, another all-party delegation led by BJP MP Ravi Prasad reached Italy's Rome on the second leg of the multi-nation visit on Wednesday. In Rome, the delegation would be interacting with the members of parliament, think tanks and media. They will also meet a cross-section of vibrant Indian community in Italy. And India's all-party parliamentary delegation has wrapped up its two-day official visit to Paris. According to delegation members, the visit to Paris was fruitful and they succeeded in conveying their message to both the French government and the French people. DD India correspondent Rohini Gosavi reports from Paris.
During 2 days stay in Paris, all-party delegation led by Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad held several important meetings to strengthen the partnership between India and France. The delegation is carrying a strong and united message from India that there will be no compromise on terrorism.
The delegation met the Indian community, they met the French media, they met French think tanks, French parliamentarians at the National Assembly and the Senate, where they conveyed India's new normal approach, which has been articulated against terrorism, where they expressed the need to fight this common challenge of terrorism that the world is confronted with today.
The delegation met with members of the French Senate and the India-France Friendship Group. They discussed about working together to fight terrorism. The discussions were friendly and positive. Both sides agreed on the importance of continuing dialogue between parliaments of India and France. The meeting helped build more trust and friendship, and both countries showed interest in taking the partnership forward through more talks and cooperation.
We are fighting against terrorism in France also, and I think it's a very strong, exactly like the president of the delegation I said, it's like a cancer, and we have to fight against it. And I think we are stronger when we are together against this cancer.
A special breakfast meeting was also held with members of the French media. The delegation had open and friendly conversations. They also presented strong evidence against Pakistan's false claims and repeated India's firm stand against terrorism. And they especially mentioned that Rafale are the best thing India has in our defense.
Everybody stood in solidarity with India. They understand the pain of terrorism. They understand the concerns that we are raising. Our concerns with regards to bringing accountability to a rogue nation like Pakistan. And what was extremely encouraging was that France totally understands a point of view, a perspective, and has come out strongly in solidarity with us.
The delegation also met with the Indian community in Paris, and diaspora welcomed the delegation with pride. The members of delegation clearly said that India does not tolerate terrorism and called for support from other countries to fight it together. With all meetings completed successfully, the delegation has left Paris to continue its European tour and hold further discussions and strengthen India's ties with other European countries. Rohini Gosavi in Paris for DD India.
And India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is on U.S. visit till May 29th. During his visit, he met U.S. Under-Secretary Jeffrey Kessler, discussing India and U.S. cooperation in critical and emerging technologies. They also discussed early convening of the India-U.S. Strategic Trade Dialogue to deepen tech and trade collaboration. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri's visit is a follow-up to Prime Minister's visit to the United States in February 2025, when both sides had launched the India-U.S. Compact, which means catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology for the 21st century. Compact is a 10-year roadmap to elevate the US-India major defense partnership, enabling co-production and joint development of critical military platforms. And after an 8-month sea odyssey, INSV Tarini, carrying 2 women officers, is set to return home on May 29th, marking the culmination of a challenging voyage that spanned across 4 continents. Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi had flagged off the Indian naval sailing vessel Tarini from Naval Ocean Sailing Node in Goa on October 2nd last year. The flag-in ceremony of Tarini will be presided over by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh at Momugao Port in and Goa, formally marking the culmination of the global circumnavigation. Well, India reiterated its strong commitment to strengthening traditional medicine systems as part of an integrated approach to healthcare. Speaking at the 78th World Health Assembly held in Geneva, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Arindam Bakshi, welcomed the adoption of the new WHO Global Traditional Medicine Strategy 2025-2034 and highlighted India's efforts to embed evidence-based traditional practices into national and global health frameworks. India's initiatives resonate strongly with these principles, underscoring its role as a committed partner in advancing traditional medicine for global well-being. India remains dedicated to supporting WHO and member states in realizing the full potential of traditional medicine and achieving universal health coverage and the Sustainable Development Goals. And the Indian Meteorological Department has upgraded its monsoon forecast for the year 2025, predicting 106% of the long period average rainfall, slightly higher than the 105% forecast in April. This increase is expected to benefit the country's agricultural sector. Regionally, from June to September 2025, the rainfall is most likely to be above normal over central India and the South Peninsula region, while northwest India is expected to experience normal rainfall levels. In contrast, northeast India is likely to receive below normal rainfall. The monsoon core zone, which covers much of India's rain-fed agricultural land, is also forecast to receive above normal rainfall, providing a favorable outlook for the Kharif cropping season. And still to come in DD India News. Trump administration moves to cut $100 million in federal contracts for Harvard. Trump proposes Canada to join his Golden Dome missile defense system for free, but only if it becomes part of the United States. After two explosive failures, SpaceX missed the flight test attempt of Starship rocket again. Fuel leak and loss of control bring the test to fail.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, Russian authorities on the intervening night of Tuesday and Wednesday reported intercepting 112 Ukrainian drones across 6 regions, including Bryansk, Kursk and Belgorod, in a 3-hour span ending at midnight. The attack has forced at least 3 Moscow airports to suspend flights. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin confirmed 12 drones targeting the capital were downed, forcing Vnukovo and Zhukovsky airports to suspend flights as per the Federal Aviation Transport Agency. This follows Ukraine's claim of enduring Russia's heaviest retaliatory drone strikes. Russia's defense military labeled the Ukrainian strikes a provocation, retaliating with drone and missile attacks on civilian sites. Such intense Ukrainian drone assaults on Moscow far from the border are rare but increasing. And US President Donald Trump said on Tuesday that Russian President Vladimir Putin was playing with fire. Trump's latest comments follow some of the biggest drone and missile attacks on Ukraine since the conflict began in early 2022. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said what Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for him, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And top Russian security official Dmitry Medvedev, responding to US President Donald Trump's criticism of Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin, said on Tuesday the only truly bad thing to worry about was World War III. Well, Medvedev responded on the social media platform X, and I quote, regarding Trump's words about Putin playing with fire and really bad things happening to Russia, I only know of one really bad thing, World War III. I hope Trump understands this. Unquote. And moving on, US President Donald Trump said that Canada could join his proposed Golden Dome missile defense system for free, but only if it becomes part of the United States. Otherwise, it would cost Canada $61 billion to be part of the system, said Trump, who has repeatedly called for the United States' northern neighbor to become the 51st state. Canada has expressed interest in joining the missile system, plans for which Trump unveiled last week to defend against a wide array of enemy weapons, but has firmly rejected any loss of sovereignty. Trump announced plans for the Golden Dome system a week ago, saying it would eventually cost around $175 billion and would be operational by the end of his term in 2029. And US President Donald Trump's administration has ordered US missions abroad to stop scheduling new student and exchange visitor visa appointments as the State Department plans to expand social media vetting for foreign students. Well, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said updated guidance on vetting would be issued after a review is completed. However, already scheduled appointments can proceed. Also, this move is part of the administration's broader efforts to tighten immigration policies, including ramping up deportations and targeting student visas. The expanded social media vetting will change how consular sections operate, with a focus on the resources needed for each case. The administration also links student visa holder support for Palestinians or criticism of Israel to potential deportation, accusing them of threatening U.S. foreign policy. And for more on this, we have Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, a new hurdle for international students in US. How do you think the expansion of social media vetting for foreign students will impact the overall application process for students and exchange visitor visas? Will this lead to longer wait times or more scrutiny on applicants? What will vetting include?
Well, the vetting bill clearly, as the administration is talking about social media and the history of candidates who are applying for studying inside in the U.S. universities. If we look at the entire matter, the administration is not wrong in a way to vet the students who are coming in, the students especially who are coming in from different parts of the country for studying in the U.S. universities. Because if you are willing to study in a country, if you're willing to go to a nation and study and utilize their infrastructure and their the opportunities that the country is offering, then you must also respect the laws of the country too. It can't be that you criticize US as far as the foreign policies of your domestic or your home country is concerned. You are critical of the country. You are criticizing the politicians. You're criticizing the infrastructure or everything about that country. And then you also want to go and study in that very country because it honestly offers you a better opportunity. This is what the US administration, especially under Donald Trump, is hinting at, because there have been many incidents where, domestic politics has been dragged into the U.S. universities. U.S. universities many a times have also become a place where different people from different countries have brought their own ideologies. Many instances have been reported where students who come to study in these universities also bring their own, political or communal biases when they enter the country, and then they also criticize the very country that is providing them education. So that's one aspect of it, perhaps. Because when it comes to a lot of students who are studying in the US universities, you also will have to respect the country that you are visiting, which has not been the case in many of the instances, and that perhaps the reason why the social media vetting will be included as one of the mainstay of providing visas to the students.
All right. Akshay, also given that already scheduled visa appointments can still proceed, how will the new directive affect those who have been waiting for months or even years for their visa interviews? Will they face additional hurdles or delays now?
Well, you don't have anything to worry about if your, social media are, in line with what Trump administration expects. They're saying that you should not be anti-Semitic. That's their opinion. Honestly, they have all the rights to form their opinion. For example, if people want to travel to India and they criticize, they're supporting terrorism in any form, then India has all rights to stop those students from coming in. Similar is the case with the US. If you don't have anything to worry about as far as social media is concerned, it's not that bad of a news for you. You just have to ensure that the social medias that students have are not used for radical politics or for any kind of anti-US agendas. If you want to study, if you want to go and study in the US.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for all those insights. And the Trump administration plans to end the federal government's remaining contracts with Harvard University, which are valued at around $100 million. The U.S. General Services Administration sent a letter to federal agencies directing them to review and potentially terminate or reallocate these contracts. This move follows the administration's broader push against Harvard, including cancelling nearly $3 billion in federal research grants and attempting to revoke the university's ability to enroll international students. A federal judge temporarily blocked this move, but the administration has also stopped scheduling new student and exchange visitor visa appointments. Several hundred protesters, including Harvard University students and professors, demonstrated in support of foreign students at the Harvard campus on Tuesday, while also protesting Trump administration efforts to cut off funding to the university. And moving on, SpaceX's Starship rocket roared into space from Texas on Tuesday, but spun out of control about halfway through its flight without achieving some of its most important testing goals, bringing fresh engineering hurdles to CEO Elon Musk's increasingly turbulent Mars rocket program. The 400-foot-tall Starship rocket system lifted off from SpaceX's Starbase, Texas launch site, flying beyond the point of two previous explosive attempts earlier this year. For the latest launch, the 9th full test mission of Starship lost contact with a 232-foot lower stage booster during its descent before it plunged into the sea rather than making the controlled splashdown the company had planned. Starship, meanwhile, continued into suborbital space but began to spin uncontrollably roughly 30 minutes into the mission. The errant spiraling came after SpaceX cancelled a plan to deploy 8 mock Starlink satellites into space. The rocket's PEZ candy dispenser-like mechanism failed to work as designed. And still to come on DD India News Hour. A U.S. judge allows a group of 14 states to move ahead with a lawsuit challenging Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency over cost-cutting measures. An explosion at a chemical plant in China kills at least 5 people. And Nepal vows to keep Himalayas safe and clean at the International Everest Summiteers Summit 2025 in Kathmandu. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. As Putin rejects Vatican peace talks proposal, Trump says that Putin is playing with fire while Russia makes gains in Ukraine. US halts student visa appointments and plans expanded social media vetting. The move is part of Trump's wide-ranging efforts to fulfill his hardline immigration agenda. India's global outreach and Operation Sindoor continues. All-party delegation engaged with key figures in multiple nations, highlighting India's continued fight against terrorism. India set for above normal rainfall with estimate of 106% downpours. Forecast brings boost for agriculture and rural livelihoods. And mourners gathered on Tuesday to mourn and reflect on the life of Sarah Milgrim, the 26-year-old Israeli embassy staffer who was killed by a gunman outside the Capital Jewish Museum last week. Rabbis and a representative from the Israeli embassy shared memories of Sarah and a commitment to building bridges between Arabs and Jews in hopes of ending bloodshed in the Middle East. Milgrim and her boyfriend Yaron Listinsky were about to be engaged on a planned trip to Israel this week. Their killings are widely condemned as an act of anti-Semitism. The suspect in the shooting, Elias Rodriguez, is accused of opening fire on a group of people last Wednesday night as they left an event for young diplomats hosted by the American Jewish Committee, an advocacy group that supports Israel and fights anti-Semitism. Well, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth welcomed his Polish counterpart Kozyniak Kamysz to the Pentagon on Tuesday, praising Poland's 5% investment in NATO. Hegseth called Poland a model ally and said the United States doesn't need to encourage Poland to a defense spend target of 5% of gross domestic product. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense Władysław Kozyniak-Kamysz said that Poland believes it was necessary to send Europe a strong message, a strong signal for burden sharing with the NATO. The comments came one day after NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said that he assumes alliance members will agree to a broad defense spending target of 5% of gross domestic product during a summit in The Hague next month. And moving on, a U.S. judge allowed 14 states to proceed with the lawsuit challenging Elon Musk's role in slashing federal spending as head of President Trump's new government efficiency agency. However, the judge dismissed claims against Trump himself, ruling that the court wouldn't interfere with his presidential duties. The lawsuit, filed by attorneys general from New Mexico, Oregon, and 12 other states, argues that Musk's cost-cutting actions were unauthorized by law. They seek to halt Musk's efforts to cut federal spending and shut down agencies Trump disapproves of. The states claim Musk has been given powers usually reserved for confirmed government officials, as DOGE, the agency Musk leads, has dismantled programs and cut thousands of jobs. And U.S. District Judge Lewis Lehman on Tuesday issued a temporary restraining order barring the U.S. Transportation Department from withholding federal funding from New York, countering the Trump administration's push to end Manhattan's congestion pricing program, per NBC New York. The ruling, effective until June 9th, followed a hearing one day before Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's deadline to withhold project approvals. MTA CEO Jano Leiber stated the judge rejected federal punitive actions, emphasizing a swift resolution. Launched in January 2025, the $9 peak hour toll for vehicles entering Manhattan below 60th Street has reduced traffic by 12% in April, raising $1 billion annually for transit upgrades. And Mexico's economy minister, Marcelo Ebrard, announced that the mandatory 6-year review of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, which replaced the North American Free Trade Agreement in 2020, is set to begin in early October 2025. Speaking at a banking event on Tuesday, Ebrard said the review, initially expected in the second half of 2025, will evaluate the trilateral trade pact. U.S. President Donald Trump, who negotiated the USMCA, has pushed for renegotiation to secure better U.S. terms and impose tariffs on some Canadian and Mexican imports. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney emphasized resolving bilateral issues, including fentanyl smuggling, before talks. Well, the review aims to strengthen North America trade cooperation. And moving on, French lawmakers in the National Assembly approved a bill to legalize assisted dying on Tuesday, paving the way for France to become the latest European nation to allow terminally ill people to end their lives. The bill passed with 305 lawmakers voting for and 199 against. The final passage of the bill remains some way off, as it will go on to the Senate, where it will be further debated. Polls show more than 90% of French people are in favor of laws that give people with terminal diseases or interminable suffering the right to die. The vote was preceded by another on a bill related to palliative care, which passed unanimously with 561 votes. The bill on assisted dying makes it possible for any French person over the age of 18 suffering from a serious or incurable condition that is either life-threatening, advanced or terminal to end their life. And Venezuela's ruling Socialist Party held a significant majority in the National Assembly in a Sunday election, winning nearly 83% of votes according to the Electoral Authority. Though the contest was boycotted by some opposition leaders amid deep division among parties opposed to the government of President Nicolas Maduro. Some of the country's major opposition leaders called for voters to abstain in protest of the official results of the July 2024 presidential election, which the opposition says it won, but which authorities say was a Maduro victory. Sunday's legislative results will keep the ruling party in control of the Attorney General's office and the top court, whose members are elected by the lawmakers. Well, this decision comes after the Food and Drug Administration limited the approval of COVID shots to adults aged 65 and older, as well as younger individuals with underlying health conditions. Trump administration officials have framed the shift as bringing the U.S. into closer alignment with countries like Britain, Germany and France, where annual boosters are recommended only for the elderly and immunocompromised. FDA officials also said vaccine manufacturers will need to conduct new clinical trials, including comparisons against a saline placebo, if they wish to retain approval for use in healthy people under 65.
I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. Last year, the Biden administration urged healthy children to get yet another COVID shot despite the lack of any clinical data to support the repeat booster strategy in children.
And moving on, Brazil has confirmed new cases of bird flu in wild animals, which officials say pose no risk to commercial operations. Agricultural Minister Carlos Feveiro said on Tuesday that authorities are also investigating a potential new case on a commercial farm. After an outbreak was reported on a farm in the southern city of Montenegro, it prompted trade bans from multiple countries at both regional and national levels. Feveiro told a Senate hearing that the case should be treated as something natural, since Brazil is rich in migratory birds which generally transmit viruses. Preliminary tests had already indicated a negative result for a case under investigation on a commercial farm in the northern state of Tocantins. And in central Mexico, 17 bodies were discovered inside a house. Prosecutor's office of the Mexican state of Guanajuato on Tuesday said authorities found 16 bodies inside a clandestine grave on Friday in a home in Irapuato, while another partially skeletonized corpse was found on Saturday. The bodies were taken to forensic laboratory to be identified. Well, an explosion at a chemical plant in eastern China on Tuesday killed at least 5 people, with 6 more still missing. The blast occurred at the Yuadao chemical plant at around 12 p.m. in Gaomi town in Shandong province, around 450 kilometers southeast of the capital, Beijing. More than 200 emergency workers responded to the blast. Yuadao Chemical manufactures low-toxicity pesticides and employs around 300 people on a site of 116 acres. Industrial accidents occur regularly in China, where safety standards in its countless factories are sometimes not respected. In 2015, explosions at warehouses containing flammable chemicals in the port city of Tianjin killed over 170 people and injured 700 others. Well, hundreds of Everest summiteers from India, China, Pakistan, the US, New Zealand and from other countries gathered at the first ever International Everest Summiteers Summit 2025 held in Kathmandu. Inaugurating the event, Nepal's Tourism Minister Badri Prasad Pandey asserted that the conservation of mountains and mountain cultures for the future generation is the common responsibility of all of us. In the event, Minister Pandey honoured several national and international climbers along with Kancha Sherpa, who climbed Sagarmatha Everest as a part of Edmund Hillary's expedition team in 1953 with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
The government is strongly committed to supporting mountaineering in every possible way by keeping climbers safe, by protecting the natural beauty of our peaks, and by helping local communities grow alongside the spirit of adventure.
Well, the United Nations World Meteorological Organization on Wednesday reported a 70% chance that global warming will exceed 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels between 2025 and 2029, following record heat in 2023 and 2024. The WMO's annual climate report, compiled by UK's Met Office, projects annual temperatures to rise between 1.2 degrees centigrade and 1.9 degrees centigrade during this period, with an 80% likelihood of a new record warmest year. Well, the report also notes a 1% chance of exceeding 2 degrees centigrade in 1 year. WMO's Co-Barrett highlighted worsening impacts on economies and ecosystems, while experts like Friedrich Otto criticized continued reliance on fossil fuels amid global climate crisis. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News now. Lepakshi Kuraran, and moving on to some business news now. The International Monetary Fund reviewed that Egypt has made progress towards macroeconomic stability and has been streamlining tax and custom procedures, but still needs to widen its tax base. An IMF team visited Egypt from May 6 to May 18th as part of its fifth review of an $8 billion financial support agreement signed in March 2024. Egypt's central bank said last week the economy grew by 4.3% in the October to December quarter and projected it would grow by 5.0% in January to March. The IMF statement said better oversight and control over large public sector infrastructure projects was helping to contain demand pressure. The IMF approved its fourth review of the program in March, unlocking a disbursement of $1.2 billion. And NVIDIA will report earnings on Wednesday, May 28th, amid investor concerns over the impact of U.S. export curbs on its China business. The Trump administration's restrictions on NVIDIA's H20 AI chip could cost the company $5.5 billion, with $15 billion in lost sales to China. Despite this, the company expects Q1 revenue to surge 66.2% to $43.28 billion. CEO Jansen Huang criticized the curbs, calling them a failure. New opportunities may arise in regions like the Middle East, particularly through deals in Saudi Arabia, though near-term growth remains still uncertain. And Asian equities climbed Wednesday, mirroring a Wall Street rally as U.S. consumer confidence beats forecast per the conference board, marking its first rise after 5 months of decline. The surge followed U.S. President Trump's decision to delay 50% EU tariffs until July, easing trade war fears after his Sunday announcement on Truth Social of progress with Brussels. Japanese 40-year bond yields dropped after the Ministry of Finance signaled reduced issuance, boosting Tokyo's Nikkei 225 by 0.5%. Hong Kong Hang Seng rose 0.2% and Shanghai's composite gained 0.2%. The yen weakened to 144.30 per dollar amid falling yields. While you're watching DD India News, our time now for some sports news. Stand-in captain Jitesh Sharma led Royal Challengers Bangalore to a commanding 6-wicket over Lucknow Super Giants in the last league fixture of IPL 2025 on Tuesday. Rishabh Pant's unbeaten 118 along with Mitchell Marsh's heroics helped LSG set up a mammoth target of 228. However, the night belonged to Jitesh and RCB. Virat Kohli set the tone for the chase with a 30-ball 54 while Phil Salt made a quick-fire 30. The second half of the chase was led by Jitesh. He finished on 85 not out to take RCB home with 8 balls to spare. With this win, RCB have advanced to the Qualifier 1 on Thursday, where they will face Punjab Kings. The winner of Qualifier 1 will move to the finals. And the Indian Deaf cricket team defeated Trinidad and Tobago by 211 runs to take a 1-0 lead in a 3-match T20 series. Batting first, the Indian team posted a massive total of 250 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in the allotted 20 overs. Skipper Virendra Singh scored an unbeaten 109, while Krishna Gowda scored a solid 50. In response, the Trinidad and Tobago team was bowled out for just 39 runs in front of a fierce Indian bowling attack. Indian captain Virendra Sehwag was declared the player of the match. And India celebrates the birth anniversary of freedom fighter Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, also known as Veer Savarkar, on 28th of May. Born in the year 1883 in a Brahmin Hindu family of India's Nashik district, Savarkar played various roles as a revolutionary, freedom fighter, writer and political leader who's left an indelible mark on the history of the country. During his fight against Britishers, Savarkar was sentenced to 2 life imprisonments and sentenced to Kala Pani and sent to cellular jail. And paying tribute to Vinayak Damodar Savarkar on his birth anniversary, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called him a true son of Mother India. Taking to X, PM Modi said, and I quote, "Respectful tributes to Veer Savarkar ji, a true son of Mother India, on his birth anniversary. Even the harshest tortures of the foreign government could not shake his devotion towards the motherland. The grateful nation can never forget the saga of his indomitable courage and struggle in the freedom movement. His sacrifice and dedication for the country will continue to be a guide in the creation of a developed India," unquote. Hailing Veer Savarkar's contribution to India's freedom movement, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also shared a video on social media X. While Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also paid tribute to Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, Singh took to X and said, and I quote, "On the birth anniversary of the great revolutionary and thinker Swatantra Veer Savarkar, I remember and salute him with reverence. His domitable courage, dedication to the nation and his contribution to the Indian freedom struggle are inspiring. His thoughtfulness and patriotism are exemplary for the countrymen," unquote. And today is 28th of May. 2 years ago, on this day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the new Parliament House. While dedicating the building to the nation, Prime Minister Modi had described it as the beginning of a new era of New India. It's time to revisit the journey of the new Parliament and explore its features.
संसद का ये नया भवन भारत के विकास से विश्व के विकास का भी आह्वान करेगा.
India's new parliament tells the glorious story of the changing picture of changing India. The new parliament is the testament of the maturity of the world's largest democracy and shaping its new dreams. As the new parliament completes 2 years today, it has marked a significant journey of change. One of the most notable milestones was its first bill, which underscored the essence of the new parliament. This landmark legislation, the Nari Shakti Vandan Act 2023, symbolized the internal empowerment of India's democracy by ensuring 33% reservation for women in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies.
विधेयक संविधान के अनुच्छेद 368 के उपबंधों के अनुसार अपेक्षित बहुमत द्वारा पारित हुआ।
महिलाओं को अधिकार देने का, महिलाओं की शक्ति का उपयोग करने का वो काम, शायद ईश्वर ने ऐसे कई पवित्र काम के लिए मुझे चुना है। 19 सितंबर की ये तारीख इसीलिए इतिहास में अमरत्व को प्राप्त करने जा रहे हैं।
The new parliament is laced with many features. The triangular shape of the new parliament building bears the influence from the sacred geometry found in various religions across the world. In terms of design and material, it complements the old parliament and is well capable of functioning for the next 150 years. The Lok Sabha, or the lower house of the parliament chamber, has mammoth 888 seats instead of 543 and can be increased to more than 1200. The Lok Sabha is in function for joint meetings of both the houses. The Rajya Sabha, or the upper house chamber, can now accommodate 384 members of parliament instead of 250. The capacity of both chambers has been increased in anticipation of any future rise in the number of MPs after delimitation.
जो नया संसद भवन बना है, इसमें लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्था को मजबूत करने के लिए व्यवस्थाएं की गई हैं। इसमें सेंगोल की स्थापना की गई है और ये दर्शाता है कि अनुशासन से काम होना है और इस जो भी नियम कानून है उसके हिसाब से काम किया जाना है।
Construction material has been brought from across the country for the internal and external construction of the building. The building embodies national symbols, including the national emblem, the Lion of Ashoka pillar, installed at the top of the building. The golden sceptre, known as Senkol, is present near the Speaker's podium in the Lok Sabha chamber. The new parliament reflects India's unity, heritage, and aspirations for progress. With a focus on modernity and sustainability, all records, proceedings, questions, and official business have been digitized. No wonder the new parliament stands as a beacon of hope, guiding India toward the vision of a developed and progressive nation. With inputs from Rishi Kumar, Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.
सिंदूर नहीं मिटने देंगे, तिरंगा नहीं झुकने देंगे, अब जुल्म नहीं हमको सहना, मेरे देश का यारो क्या कहना।
रग रग बोले जय हिंद, हर रग बोले जय हिंद, ना गम से झुके ना डर से डरे, जय हिंद।
पहलगाम की राख में हमने देखी थी वो आग, हर आंसू ने संकल्प लिया, हर दिल में गूंजी पुकार, सिंदूर नहीं मिटने देंगे, सिंदूर नहीं मिटने देंगे, तिरंगा नहीं झुकने देंगे,
तिरंगा नहीं झुकने देंगे।
अब जुल्म नहीं हमको सहना। मेरे देश का यारो,
मेरे देश का यारो क्या कहना, ओ मेरे देश का यारो क्या कहना। बहनों रे फिर बहना गहना, मेरे देश का यारो क्या कहना।
जो मासूम लहू से खेल गए, खंडर बन गए उनके किले। हर गोली में जो जख्म दिए, चुन चुन के सारे बदले लिए।
सिंदूर नहीं मिटने देंगे, तिरंगा नहीं झुकने देंगे, अब जुल्म नहीं हमको सहना। मेरे देश का यारो,
मेरे देश का यारो क्या कहना।